This month we had a problem with personnel being here, so we had to switch it just a little bit, but September, October, November, December, we'll try to stick with that third Thursday. I'm going to let the staff of the table introduce themselves, and then Mr. Evans has a presentation he'll do, and then we'll leave plenty of time for questions and answers when we're done.
Good evening, Randy Sherman, City Finance Director.
Good evening, everyone. John Curd, Fire Chief, Riviera Beach.
Hello, good evening. Michael Lowe. I'm the Executive Director of the Utilities Special District.
Chief Goldman Police Department.
Kevin Coppin, Deputy Chief of Police, Riviera Beach Police.
Sergeant Lee, Riviera Beach Police Department. Clean and safe, CRA Sergeant.
Walter Stevens, our techno wizard.
Extra Mike.
And Mary Small, my legislative aide. Many of you have had correspondence with Mary, and she's just the best ever. Almost. No. Sammy Brown laughs because he used to be the best. He used to be the best ever. So, and we have Jonathan Evans, our city manager. Jonathan?
Well, good evening, and thank you all for being here this evening. And certainly these are exciting times for the city of Riviera Beach. We're glad that we have an opportunity to share with you some of the great things that are happening in your community. And I can tell you that soon you will never have to call the city manager's office to say, man, Mr. Manager, I just wish I can have a restaurant with tablecloths, and I wish I didn't have to leave Riviera Beach to come and enjoy all the nice things that we have to offer. There is a lot of opportunities that are happening, and it's a testament to the leadership that we've had on the city council and their commitment to redevelop our community, but one that's inclusive of the community. And so this particular PowerPoint presentation, we're going to touch on a couple of things that I think is very important as we move our city forward. So if I could just move this PowerPoint forward. Let's see. I think, yeah, it's always operator error, right? Let me see if I'm going to have to. All right, there we go. So this may be a manual process, but I know I have a council person that can assist with that. So let's see. Yeah, it's going to come back up here shortly. That's why we don't travel too far without Walter. Walter, are you? See, oh, there it is. All right, just don't move at all, councilperson, through the entire 2-hour presentation. And my battery's running low. So back in 2019, the city council decided to come together with staff and talk about reimagining Riviera Beach. And we talked about creating 5 areas of strategic focus. Back in 2019, we were able to develop a strategic strategy that talked about Riviera Beach 2030. And out of that discussion that we had with the city council, we came up with 5 overarching principles. And through that, you can see we said achieve a prosperous and resilient and sustainable economy, build great neighborhoods, accelerate operational excellence, enhance government stewardship, and strengthen community engagement and empowerment. Through these particular elements, these are the core tenets of what we do at the City of Riviera Beach. So every and anything that we do that we bring forward to the board for consideration requires staff to identify these areas. And if we wanted to ever change that or go in a different direction, then we need to change the overarching goals and perspectives for the agency, because what we wanted to do is planning without implementation is hallucination. So we wanted to have a plan and work the plan for the purposes of these are the things that the board and staff said at the time that we developed Riviera Beach 2030. These were the main areas of strategic focus, and this is what we said. We wanted to make sure that we are focused, and every item, every agenda item, every staff presentation, one of these items are applicable. So next person. So then out of that came Reimagine Riviera Beach. Reimagine Riviera Beach is a holistic approach to look at how we can look at our community through a different prism. Just because it was the community that it was yesterday and what we anticipate for it to be, we wanted to make sure we looked at everything from a clean slate to ask those probing questions. Why do we do this? Does it make sense? Is it relevant? Is it practical? Is it efficient? Is it effective? So Reimagine Riviera Beach came to look at all our facilities, all our amenities, but also not just looking at physical infrastructure. How can we improve the quality of life that's uniformly enjoyed in the community, and how we can make a difference street by street, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. And so that's why you've seen Reimagine Riviera Beach to be at the forefront of any and everything that we do. And so any projects you see here is, that little logo is for our Reimagine Riviera Beach. And so the next component is the funding side. And so I have my trusty finance director. He's like the American Express. You never leave home without him. This is our budget that just recently got adopted. So I'm going to have Mr. Sherman share a little bit what these different funds and what this means in layperson's terminology, so you can understand how large the agency is, but how sophisticated, and how we operate similar to that of a business. Mr. Sherman?
So the city is actually broken up into, I'll call it different business type operations. So we obviously, our general fund is where most of our work occurs. That's got administration, police, fire, development services, HR, all the administrative work, the highway department. That's the one that is paid for as part of your property taxes. Okay? And your property taxes are about 60% of that $99 million that you see at the top. But then as we work down the list there, the debt service and the major fund are actually also part of the general fund. But we take the money out of the general fund and we transfer it to those two funds so we can account for those separately. Now, I'll tell you that debt service fund, we fund it, we spend it, we fund it, we spend it. The major disaster fund, though, we put 1.5% of our property taxes in that fund every year so that we have money available in the event of any major disasters that come along. So we are very secure when it comes to dealing with hurricanes and being able to respond to that. And that was put in place about 15 years ago through a charter amendment. And then as you work down, we have what we call our enterprise funds. These really are our self-sustaining business operations. They get no tax support. It's all the user fees, so it's the water and sewer fees, your stormwater fees, your trash fees, anybody that uses the marina is paying fees. That is all of those funds in the middle. And then down at the bottom, we have what we call our internal service funds. These are the departments that actually could be privatized in that regard, but they're really business operations that support all of the other departments. So that's our IT department, our fleet department, and our insurance department. So we all contribute to those out of the other funds above the internal service funds, and then those internal service funds, in essence, provide us services back. But in total, we're at $176 million, 76 million, yes. And I did go back and look about 10 years ago, that number was about $140 million. So over the past 10 years, you know, has it grown? Yes, it's grown. But again, you know, we do try to, you know, keep those in check every year. But that is what we adopted back on September 20th. It's a, you know, again, a total of $176 million. And that does not count any of our capital spending. This is just the annual operating budgets.
And to that point, this was just adopted by the board. Our fiscal year runs October 1st to September 30th. So if you're ever looking for any assistance for government entities, don't ask us at the end of September, wait till October 1st, and that's when our new fiscal year starts and new programs and new activities. Next slide.
Question.
Yes.
Has that budget already been approved?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to turn this part of the presentation over to Fire Chief John Curd. He's got some exciting news to report about what's happening in Riviera Beach Fire Rescue, but also something that's going to be coming before the voters here in March of '24 to talk about funding for Fire Station 86. And so the chief will share with you a little bit about Fire Station 88, Fire Station 87, and then the existing Fire Station 86 here on the island, share with you what some of the issues are and the challenges, and then we'll talk about the ballot initiative that you'll see. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Evans, and I appreciate you all being here tonight. I'd like to talk about some of these stations. When we do get to Station 86, we will have to be mindful an RFP was put out and a code of silence has been implemented as it relates to that RFP. So while I could speak in broad general terms about the station, there are certain things that obviously I wouldn't be able to discuss as part of that cone of silence, because we do have a solicitation out right now for individuals to build on, bid and build on that site where the station is currently located. But let's first talk about Station 88. This was kind of the first station that we looked at to kind of set the tone for what we wanted to see, not only for public safety, both police and fire, but what we want to see from facilities here in the city of Riviera Beach. This station here is now a 3-time award winner for design, construction, and some green technologies that were put in there. And we are very excited about this station. This station's total project cost was $19.9 million. And not only does it house the crews, it also houses our administrative staff. So this is our headquarters. We also have a 3-story training tower located on the north end or the back of the property. And as most of you all know, this station had a theme or a dedication to 9/11. It is a 2-story station totaling about 3,100 square feet. But really what makes this station is what it does for our firefighters. There are so many key elements within this station to help prolong the lives of our firefighters, to deal with the battles of cancer, to deal with the mental health issues. Many people don't know it right now, but firefighters and police officers are more likely to commit suicide than to die in the line of duty. And the state of Florida leads the nation, and Palm Beach County leads the state of Florida in first responder suicides. These are things that were unacceptable to me. The wow was for me. And what can we do to build a station to help minimize that? Well, some of the things we did is we started off with what we call the clean zone concept. In dealing in the fire service, we're exposed to a little bit of everything. Chemical, biological, blood, carcinogen, you name it, we're exposed to it. And one of the biggest problems we were finding in the fire service and the high rates of cancer were due to us bringing those carcinogens back into our living area, sitting on the sofa, going to bed, not showering appropriately in the appropriate time frame or window. So this station, and if you haven't seen it, please feel free to reach out to my office. We do tours on a regular basis. We have fire departments from Canada that are coming down to look at this station to see what they can implement in their stations. And this is also the model station for the Florida Firefighters Safety and Health Collaborative on what future stations should look like and how they should be built. But we also have a mental health and wellness room in here. We want firefighters who have just ran a bad call, and you can only imagine what a bad call is. They just want to get away for a minute. They just need some time for themselves to decompress. So we have rooms that have very specific rules: no cell phones, no talking. Individuals can go in, decompress. We have what's called a Metro Pod. You've probably seen them. They're like the Google Pods that use audio stimulation to help bring firefighters down off of that high. And that high being the adrenaline rush where your heart rate is elevated, your blood pressure is elevated. We've also put in some things like saunas. We've found that we can remove toxins from the body faster through sweating than the natural process of urination. So we actually have firefighters, and no, it's not a white towel with rocks and hot water. It's a bicycle inside of a very small sauna designed for a quick 7 to 10 minute session that will help you secrete some of those toxins that you've absorbed over that shift. And we're also working with the University of Miami Sylvester Cancer Institute, where they're going to be running studies on our firefighters, and they're actually going to collect the sweat and actually do analysis on the sweat to see what heavy metals are being excreted and in what quantities. So we're really excited about that. The lighting in the station, you may not think of it, but we deal with a 24-hour cycle. Your bodies are regulated to a 24-hour cycle. In the morning, you wake up. As the day goes on, you get tired. When the lights go out, you get sleepy and go to bed. Well, in the fire service, our bodies don't know how to regulate that. So we put in lighting that's tied to the body's natural circadian rhythm. So what you'll see is in the morning, the color, and they refer to it as the temperature of the light, will actually be a blue, a real bright white light. Well, as the day goes on, that light naturally becomes more of an orange yellow to help our firefighters combat sleep deprivation and help keep their body on somewhat of a normal cycle. So I could go on and on about the elements of this station. There are so many more things, non-porous surfaces, everything is touchless. COVID taught us what? A lot. And this station actually has a very specific decontamination path. So when we are exposed to biologicals or chemicals, we can decon our personnel and get them back into their living quarters clean, but yet all of our bathrooms are all touchless. There's only one thing you have to touch when you get done using the bathroom. Other than that, everything's touchless because those touch points are huge when we talked about transferring.
It's late though, but I got it.
Right, okay. I appreciate the help over there. But for you all to know, in Riviera Beach, we have set the tone and the model for what is a fire station. And just since its construction, like I've said, we've won 3 awards. And I hate to break it to the city manager, but I'm being asked to attend conferences so that we can teach other cities and other fire departments how to build a fire station to better protect their first responders so they're at their best when they're serving you.
Will you be putting all of these things in other upcoming?
Absolutely. This is now the standard. It'll be done on a different scale and different levels, but there's actually things since this station has been built that we've recognized we needed some of the other stations. And one is an ultraviolet boot cleaner. We go into homes and step in things that, and on the road and on the street, that shouldn't be brought back into our home. So we actually are looking to invest in an ultraviolet boot cleaner where when you come into the station, you stand on it 10 seconds, kills 99.9% of whatever it is on your shoes, so we don't track it into what essentially is our home. Most homes, you don't even wear your shoes in the home, take them off outside. We don't have that luxury, so we have to find some alternatives. But yes, ma'am, everything will be in these stations. Which leads us to Station 87. This station is currently under construction, and this is probably... This one here is where the original fire station was at the City Hall complex on Blue Heron and President Barack Obama Highway, where the City Hall complex is. So it's being rebuilt in the same location. We've moved temporarily across the street to the Wells Recreation Center. That's where we're operating out of for the next 18 months to 2 years until this station is done. And this station is really exciting. This station here, the elements are all of the same as they were with 88, but the second floor of this station is going to be dedicated to our Emergency Operations Center. Me, as your city's emergency manager, coming in when I did, I looked at how prepared, how resilient our community was, and we're not very resilient. But an Emergency Operations Center will give us a hub now in the event of an Ian. And do I need to say any more? How does a city continue to operate if you don't have facilities where you can work out of post-disaster? I hate to say it, but Fire Station 88, Fire Station 87 are going to be the 2 strongest buildings in the city. We have very few Cat 5 buildings in this city. An Ian could wipe our infrastructure out. So Reimagine Riviera was building in the resiliency associated with these stations. We're excited about the EOC. This station's completion also comes on the heels of the City of Riviera Beach Fire Rescue's 100th anniversary. And this glass lobby that you see will actually house, and the station will be dedicated to the history of Riviera Beach Fire Rescue, and it'll serve as that reminder of our first 100 years and hopefully our next 100 years. We got some memorials that are out front for our retirees, but again, this is going to be another state-of-the-art station that it will house the EOC, and in the event of a disaster, a hurricane, we have a fallback where city administration and operations can still function within the city, and we're excited to have that coming on board.
And we were able to successfully secure $1 million through the work of the city council and then Senator Powell to get an appropriation. So the taxpayers of Riviera Beach did not have to foot the whole bill. We got some money back from Tallahassee. So that's assisting in providing for that emergency operations center. The other great component of it is we will have a place for community meetings like this. We'll be able to hold roughly about 100 people in that emergency operations center for community meetings and the like. So some of the HOAs that have reached out to us that don't have locations, if there is not a conflict on the scheduling side, it'll be another place for the public to convene and have access to.
And I promise the technology will be as such where our council person won't have to hit a button.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So this brings me to Fire Station 86, and again, if I step out of line, please warn me before I put myself in a position to go to jail. But this is Fire Station 86. I don't need to say anymore. No male, female bathrooms, no locker rooms. There's one bathroom. There's one urinal and one toilet. You can have a female on the toilet while a man's at the urinal. It was built in the early 70s. Back then, we didn't have any women in the fire service. Now we are just so diverse. It really lends to what we've done here organizationally. But you can see our trucks, the way they've grown since 1970, can barely get into the apparatus bay. We have diesel exhaust. Our apparatus bay is actually tied to our living quarters, so we actually have just a door when the trucks fire up and the black plume of smoke comes out. It goes right into where we sleep and right into where we eat dinner. And those of you all that have seen that station, been around that station, know that that station's at its end of life. And we're happy to announce that an RFP is going out, working in conjunction with our friends here at the utility district. We're hoping that there will be another state-of-the-art, cutting-edge facility on Singer Island. As it relates to the utility district stuff, thank you. As it relates to utility district, I'll let Mr. Lowe speak to that, and then Mr. Sherman to speak to the financing.
Yes, with regards to the utility district, we actually have a storage facility there on the site. It's a 1 million gallon storage tank that's just there to the, as you look at it, to the left of the station. It takes up a lot of space. It's sort of short and squat. We do need capacity there in order to keep the island going. So we're reimagining the way we look at it. And we're trying to build something that's taller and narrower and create more space so that the fire station can be built. The hope is that we can have some design elements to it that it might look like a, say, a lighthouse or something like that. So it'll have some architectural benefits to it. We have to have power, emergency power and the like to work it, because this needs to function in the event of a major storm. So, but that's the idea. Yes, everything went out yesterday, so we can't talk any more details at this point, but it gives you an idea.
So what staff referenced is the cone of silence. So when we put out a solicitation to enter into a business relationship with a provider, in our procurement code, it is basically we can't talk about it, we can't say anything. We have to wait through that process until solicitations are received, and the committee then moves the item forward to the board for consideration. So that's why staff can't provide additional specificities. However, you as a member of the public can go to our website and download the solicitation document for yourself and read all about the things that we effectively are looking for in that station and that design. And so definitely that's something that's available to you. Any public solicitation is on our website via DemandStar. Mr. Sherman, you can speak on the.
Can I, what's the date for people to respond to the RFP, you know? And when will a decision be made?
And how can we forget Mr. Terrence Bailey in the back? Mr. Bailey is helping with and running our capital projects team. He works on a lot of these solicitations. So, any more specificities he can provide you those off the top of his head. Oh, yes, sir.
Are you saying that the board has yet to vote to do this project with Fire Station 86?
The board.
Have they decided to fund it, yes or no?
We're going to get to the funding question with the finance director, but the board has approved the project as it relates to, we're going to build it on that particular site. That's the identified location. We did go through this process, and I don't know if any of you, and if you want to waste copious amounts of time, try to find 2 acres on Singer Island that you can afford for a municipal fire station that takes it, that can take it completely off the tax roll. Anybody got the 2 acres we're looking? So, obviously, we ended up at the existing location that we have here, so that's what we're going to do. And the great thing is staff is conscientious of, the other element concerning the water tank and making that an architectural element that we can be proud of as well. So that's something that's incorporated in the docs. Mr. Sherman? Oh, yes, sir.
One more question, if I may. When you do start the construction, where will the fire trucks be?
So when we do, I like your optimism. So in the event that we are successful in moving this project forward, we've already started having conversations with property owners, specifically the property owner of the law office right over here in this back part of the property. So there's a situation where we're looking to, we're going to have a more robust conversation with the board about some awnings and canopies and some things that we're going to have to do to have a makeshift fire station to be able to relocate our fire personnel in the interim. Yes, still on the island, yes.
Why did we require a bond for this one fire station when we didn't require a bond for the others?
Mr. Sherman's going to answer all those great financial questions. Yeah.
I'm out of here at 6:30 though. Just,
All right.
Just
Yeah.
okay, so first I want to say the Station 86 is in the 5-year CIP plan. Okay, so they just adopted that on September 20th. So the station is in the plan. Financing the station is still open to final resolution. However, not to make it too complicated, but the city has really 2 buckets of money. We have the tax money, and then we have everything else, okay? We're not allowed to use property taxes to pay debt service unless the voters tell us that that's okay. So when we did the first station, which included 88, we said, well, we're going to use the non-tax revenue bucket to finance 2 fire stations. When we issued those bonds, it was Station 88, because recall, 88 was by Barracuda Bay, already closed down, right? It was for 88 and 86. Because we couldn't come up with a location for 86, we changed the purpose of the dollars that we borrowed from Station 86 to 87, which is why 87 is moving forward, because 86 is trailing. So again, when we go to the market, our interest rates, which ultimately means the cost that we're going to be paying, okay, are dependent on how strong your security is, right? So if you have a stronger security, more likelihood that you're going to be paying back, your interest rates are going to be lower. If we use property taxes, our interest rates will be lower than if we use the non-property taxes, okay? So because we have some time on 86, right, we are asking the voters, this will be on the ballot in March, and this is the actual question you'll have on your ballot, is can the city use property taxes for Station 86? Okay? If the answer is yes, we're good. We go to market, and it's paid for by property taxes. If the answer is no, we have to go back to the other bucket. Okay? It's not that the other bucket isn't available, but as you'll see through the presentation, we have a lot of things that we're looking to do, but it will be more expensive. That's the difference. So that's why we're asking the voters on this, and you'll see as we progress, we're going to ask you a couple other similar questions. But that's why. So right now, again, as I said, that the financing is not set yet. We'll see how the vote goes in March. And again, depending on how that vote goes, we either take left road or we take the right road.
And let me just, as a disclaimer, if you see that our answers are maybe short and seem flippant, is because the state passed a law that government employees cannot advocate for or against. We can only provide you factual information, and you as the voters have to make an informed decision. However, the elected officials can tell you how they feel on a particular matter or on a particular situation. But there will be copious amounts of road shows, education pieces. We will also be having discussions at the fire station for you to walk through, and all the other capital projects that we have. So as you ask your questions, if we can't answer them in great specificity, or we invite you over to the fire station to take a tour of the facilities, that's the intent, is to make sure that you're informed and you actually know all the information. But we have to be very careful what we say.
I appreciate that. So if the citizens vote for the bond, we're gonna use tax money. That would suggest our taxes would have to go up then to fund this, is that correct?
Correct.
Temporarily.
Temporarily, and again, as
And we're-
temporary for the life of the bond, yes, it's a set amount, and as valuations go up, the amount you pay goes down.
And we're going to provide a chart that shows what that would potentially be.
Okay, so let me, if you can, let me go left to right. So let's go back here.
To your point, if you were to show the taxpayers a chart of the increase in the economy from the real estate taxes, knowing how many increased condos, et cetera, and building projects have occurred here in Riviera Beach, obviously there's a slope going up consistently.
Correct.
And therefore, if they could see that trend and that increased amount of monies, that may influence them in terms of how they wish to vote.
Okay. And as the manager said, we'll get all the facts out and make numerous presentations. Okay, right here.
It said that you'll be putting in a new water tank. Will that water tank be underground or will it be up? And is there enough, is the property big enough to do that water tank? Or do you have to get more property?
No, we're going to use the existing property. We've put together some concepts which are in the submittal that's out there. But by making it taller, you can make it use up less space. So we're looking at something that might be 65, 70 foot high, as opposed to something that's only 30 foot high. Yeah?
Thank you very much.
Let me stay in the front row, then we'll go back to second. So
What you're saying is the construction of the 86 is not contingent on passing this bond, it's just gonna cost us more money if we don't pass it.
right, we would have to resort to a financing that would cost a little bit more.
But it's not like if the bond doesn't pass, we can't.
Correct. Correct. All right. Anybody else in the front row? Good. All right. Second row. Go ahead.
Could you tell me where the funds came from for the other two stations?
So again, it's just all the revenues that are not property tax revenues. So that is state revenues that we collect. It's fees and charges that we collect from other programs. It's investment earnings. It's we have over 200 different revenue sources. They all go into that bucket, and we just appropriate it.
I've run out of them because you built the other two.
No, we have additional capacity. I mean, we have, the state gives us a limit on how much we can borrow, and then we have our own policies on how much we could borrow. Because again, we don't want to upset the markets, the folks that lend us the money. So, we have policies. So we have capacity. But again, as you're going to see, we have a lot of projects. So again, it's a matter of balancing it out.
Could be done without getting the increase in the taxes by using the other money.
Correct. Not all the projects, but this one. Anybody else? Second row, third row? No, that it?
We have.
Oh,
over here.
okay.
Where would the water tank be located? Behind the existing one, or how does the water continue to flow?
It's going to be alongside, probably. That's the way we're looking at it. But that is going to be subject to the whole
Right.
design process. We've had some thoughts, but once the team is selected, that's their first job.
Yes.
I just want to acknowledge Chief Kurt and the administration in making an investment in our staff, the people who serve us, and making sure that they're taken care of. I think that's really wonderful that you've made that a priority, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. The question was asked about, you know, the project and how does this project, but you'll see there's other projects in here, and then there is, like Mr. Sherman said, I think right now our bonding capacity, if we went to, and we decided to push the limit, I think is what, $55 million. So as you see these projects, please then know that invariably, if you're for or against it, that's certainly your decision, but the policymakers will then have to make a decision as to what priority or what projects move forward with regards to that. And so we always have a plan A, plan B, plan C, and then a Riviera Beach emergency plan. So we're playing out all those different scenarios, but you will get a lot more information and get a lot more understanding of what the impact will be as it relates to the project and the bottom line. So thank you. So we have a little bit of an update from the water treatment plant. Mr. Lowe with our utility district can share some information, Councilperson Botel, as to what the project is and what's happening right now. And
Okay. First thing to say is a lot is happening behind the scenes. I know people aren't seeing shovels in the ground, but I've spent probably 12 hours of the last 3 days on this project in meetings. So there is a lot going on. The first thing we had to do was to decide what technology were we going to use. And as we were making that decision, the federal government, the EPA, pronounced new regulations with regards to certain what they call forever chemicals, or PFAS, PFOS, PFOA. There's a lot of them. Almost every utility in this part of the world has probably got some form of, at low level, not at dangerous levels, but at a low level, of having these materials within the water supply. So far, the big one that everyone's fighting in the courts over is the foaming agent that was used by the fire departments, but there are many other chemicals that you actually use every day. Anyone that's got a non-stick saucepan, there you go. That's another one of those forever chemicals. So we went through an evaluation of the various different projects, the technologies, and we ended up deciding that our superficial aquifer, that's the water we currently have that comes from near the surface, that will go through what's called nanofiltration. It's like a very fine sieve. Those tubes have got the filtration in it, so you force the water through the sieve using pressure, and the materials you don't want stay behind, and the pure water goes through the other side. The water that stays behind, the concentrate as we call it, we actually end up pumping underground, about 3,500 feet, so a long way underground. That's done all over the place. The only problem is that those things cost about $25 million a piece. So we're trying to make certain we don't have to build a second one, and so we've got plans we're working through on that. The amount of water we have in the surface superficial aquifer is limited by the South Florida Water Management District. So we're in the middle of what's called the consumptive use permit application process, and we are asking to go down deeper to another aquifer that's called the Floridan Aquifer. And that needs a slightly different process. It still uses the same sort of device, but it needs higher pressures, and it's a slightly different sieve. In part, that's because it's got saline water down there, so there's salt. Salt's actually a small molecule, relatively speaking, so you need smaller holes to make certain that it stays on the right side of your sieve. The Floridan water, therefore, we're going to have to build Floridan wells. They go down about 1,300 feet. We have spent a lot of yesterday trying to work out the route from where the wells are going to be to the plant, what's the best route, and we're going to produce a report for people to look at that will lock that down. So the next thing we have to do is in a few weeks, as this thing comes forward, we'll have what's called a basis of design report. It's due up in October. And that is something that's approaching 1,000 pages long. And it will have detail in it about everything that has to be done for the plant. We are working on seeing if there are some things that we can do early on. It would help us to build a test well into the Floridan to see how much capacity we can get out of that well, and therefore how many of them we need to build. If it's only 1,000 gallons a minute, then I need more than if it was, say, 1,250 or 1,500 gallons a minute. And that depends upon where you are in the Floridan when you dig. So test well, we need a new storage tank. That's something we can decide to build quicker. So we're trying to put forward some ideas as to how we can start the process more quickly, because that will actually save money in the long run, because you're not, inflation being what it is, the sooner you start the work, the sooner you get the pricing in, then the cheaper the overall project will be. Yes.
So have you have you had any discussions about recycling water? I know that in Israel, 85% of their water is recycled. In Spain, I think it's 60% of their water is recycled. So instead of the water that we from the bathtubs or the toilets or whatever, instead of it just going away, they actually reuse a lot of that water. And so I was just wondering if it's something that we've at least explored.
We're already doing it.
Okay.
Actually, just to explain, our wastewater goes to the East Central Water Reclamation Facility, as it's called, and a large amount of that water is reclaimed and actually gets pumped out to FPNL's power plant that's out there at the edge of the Glades. So, yeah, we're already doing that as much as we can. Yes.
I moved, Pat Sheffield, I moved here in 1985, and I'm wonderful to hear this upgrade. When I moved here in 85, Riviera Beach was known as having the best water in all of Palm Beach County. Nowadays, I'm hearing I need to put a filter on my water for drinking. So I'm glad to see that you're doing an upgrade, because I think it has gone down from what you had in 85.
I can't answer for 85, but I can tell you that the water we produce is drinkable. It meets all the primary and secondary water standards. It has to. We can't do anything else. But like a lot of the facilities that use lime softening like we do here, where I worked in Boynton the same, Delray's the same, because of the source of the water, you do get that slightly yellow tinge to it. Can't be helped, but it's nothing in it that's adverse to human being in consumption. So, yeah.
All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Loeb. All right, so I wanted to take the opportunity to share with you all a lot of the development projects that are happening here. Oh, sorry. Go. Yeah, sure.
The pipe that goes from Singer Island, the drainage pipe that, sorry, thank you, that takes our outflow water back, and there's only one there, and is that part of this project, and when might that get?
It's a separate project that's within our CIP. We're working on the route analysis as I speak. It's difficult to get the right route, but my assistant director is someone who's got a lot of experience in what's called directional drilling. So he's working with the design team on that to finalize a route. We've actually got to bring a water line as well. We want to bring a third water line and a second wastewater line. We would probably try afterwards to go back to the old wastewater line and see if we can't rehabilitate it so we've got backup going forward.
Right. So it should be soon.
As soon as I can, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I did want to take the opportunity to share with you some of the development projects that are happening here in the city of Riviera Beach. And these projects, a lot of these projects and initiatives are at the final stage. And what I mean by final stage is they've gone before the board, or they're in the process of going before. They've gotten site plan approval, they've gotten rezonings, and this is just a couple. I didn't even pull all of them. But Oculina, that's the development project that is on the northern part of our community on the corner of Broadway and Silver Beach, the Winn-Dixie Plaza. Basically, Oculina is I would say, the bigger, better looking sister to Nautilus, because our property is actually a larger property. And so Oculina is going to be the development that's coming here in the city of Riviera Beach. Investment's going to be about $250 million, and the projected sales price is about $700,000. Right adjacent down the street to this particular property is Found Care. That is a federally qualified healthcare outfit that is going to make an investment in about $12 million, and we're going to have incubator spaces that they're building for the city CRA to manage those incubator spaces for shops or restaurants or professional offices, and that is nearing its final stages of getting the authorizations from the board. One of the great things about it is going to function almost like a hospital. It's going to have pediatric care, mental health care. It's also going to have provide services to the uninsured, underinsured, and the insured. And also, we're in the process of working with them towards the possibility of being a health clinic for our employees to help buy down the cost for what health care is. What folks don't know, the largest single line item in the budget is the health insurance costs for the city of Riviera Beach. And every year, me and Mr. Sherman, it's like throwing a dart. It's every 12 to 15% increases. So we're trying to do everything we can. And so we think this partnership with Found Care will be an important one. Berkeley Landing. Berkeley Landing is the development on Broadway. You should have seen a lot of construction activities on this site. Groundbreaking was March 22. Expected completion is late 2023. Investment of about $35 million. The city of Riviera Beach was a partner in that, and it's about 121 affordable and workforce units. And that particular project here is already getting a lot of traction and a lot of interest. So if you're going north on Broadway, it'll be on your right-hand side. It's a beautiful property. It's actually going to really activate their storefronts that they have that actually front Broadway. So there's going to be some interactivity on Broadway. Our intent is to see Broadway actually be more of a pedestrian corridor to allow for shops and restaurants and more pedestrian activity on that particular stretch of Broadway. 2600 Broadway, that is the corner of Blue Heron and Broadway. That's what people have referred to as the park with the palm trees, where the old bank building. We have a solicitation that was issued, and it's contemplated that the board would want to see a signature facility. It's in the cone of silence, so we're hoping that we get some good partners on that. And if you want more information about that project, again, go to our website, go to RFP, RFQs, and you can download the solicitation and read all about what the staff and what the board put forth as it relates to this particular project. The solicitation for City Hall, we're in the final stages of the negotiation process and trying to work through some complications, but we hope to be able to bring something to the board here at our November 4th meeting to be able to move this particular situation. So Sarah Maxfield, Mr. Sherman, and myself are working with the development partners to bring this particular project to fruition. One of the great things about it is that the city has recently passed IHCPUD, which allows for greater intensities and densities if you have 2 acres worth of property. And so what we want to do is activate the city hall proper, because we probably only need 3 to 4 stories out of that particular facility. And one of the things that I make it a point to do, and this is the public administrator in me, every city I visit, I always go to their city hall. And everywhere I go, their city hall is sleepy after 5 o'clock. And what we want to do is we want to have the building breathe into the evening and on the weekends. We want to see a city hall that has a retail rep, that has the lounge or has the dry cleaners or has the coffee shop. We also want to the developer partner to know that we only need those certain floors, but the activation of higher floors can be a steakhouse or something that overlooks the intercoastal with a patio. And so we're really being very unique in our approach to make sure that it's a place where the community can come all hours of the day and night, evenings and weekends. Miami Subs, this is a property that the city and CRA own. It's on 19th. There's a public solicitation that will be going out. It's contemplated for a mixed-use development on that particular property. Viking, they have moved forward with their service center as well as showroom for their one of their smaller brands, Van Hala, and that investment's about $40 million. Their site is about 3.2 acres. They've made their way through the planning process, and now they're going to go through construction. Elements 7 and 8, that is what we refer to as Marina Village. We have entered into lease agreements for land leases for 400 market rate units and 138 affordable units. The projected investment's about $200 million, and that is moving forward, as well as the activation of the commercial aspects. We're going to be having very important conversations with the board in October and November about the Marina Village, and so a lot more information, a lot more details on that. But we do have the lease agreements for the 2 developments that I spoke to, of Element 7 and Element 8. Villa La Anse, this is a market rate and a workforce product. Investment's about $4 million, going through the permitting and financing stage, and would be breaking ground here after the first of the year. So if we can go, and these are some of the pictures of some of the projects. So Oculina, there's the Winn-Dixie Plaza. If the project is successful, we're hopeful that they will put the rest of the plaza under contract and move forward with another nice development on there. This is the particular area where Found Care is that I had mentioned. That's the health industry. That's Berkeley Landing when it's complete. And then this is the corner of Blue Heron and Broadway, and the board wanted to see a signature project. So that's just a rendition of what we contemplate on that particular site. City Hall, this is a rendition of what a version of City Hall can be, but certainly up to that partnership with the developers. This is the property that we talked about. That's the Miami Subs, unobstructed views of the lagoon as well as the ocean. And so we're really excited about what the activation of that would be. Viking, that's their service center as well as showroom. And again, Marina Village, that's the development that's contemplated with the related group for the 2 towers, identical towers to the Icon project that's on Flagler over at the old Rybovich site. And that's the workforce affordable element that's on the property. And then this is the Villa Ons, the Renaissance Townhomes project. So this is a video that if everything was built, what that would look like and what the Broadway corridor would look like. So you should just have to hit there it is. All right. So this is Marina Village, but here, this is the Mariner Marine right here. They have just gone through the site plan approval process. So this is what that's a yacht sales and service. This is contemplated what Marina Village would be. It would be a parking garage with a retail wrap on the bottom, and then the 2 towers. Then this is the property over here that you'll get another view of. This is the Safe Harbor Rybovich property, but this is the 19th and Avenue E, that development. This particular building, that's City Hall. These tees, see, David made the video, look at that. Yeah, yeah. So that's the steakhouse, Ruth Chris or Morton or Flagler Steakhouse. If you're watching, the top floor is available. This is 2600 Broadway. So that's, they would have to acquire additional parcels to make that any larger because it's not, that's 2 acres, but that's the park with the palm trees.
Fix that intersection?
We're gonna try, but this is state.
Like it in your video.
This is Berkeley Landing. So there'll be some interaction with the pedestrian front. And there's some other projects that we didn't list. This is Riviera Cove, development that's existing. This is what Oculina and the development will be on that particular site. Right. Yep. So this is a video that kind of showcases some of the projects, and I can tell you there's probably 4 or 5 additional projects that we can put on there that are in some different phase of review. And the great thing about these developments that are coming on, that they have to have multiple uses. So it can't be just a single residential tower. It has to have restaurants. It has to have some type of professional office. It's not a situation where it's exclusive to just the folks that may live in those particular properties. So that's where I say that you're gonna have a lot of different dining opportunities, studios, galleries, and the like that's gonna happen as a result of some of these development opportunities. All right, so I'll briefly go over the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Oh, yes, sorry.
So, back to the project corridor, what's going on, you didn't mention the section where the locksmith shop is, Seashell City and Rybovich Safe Harbor. What's going on with that?
Exactly. Intentionally. Okay, so I'm not answering those. No, they were just put in the visual there, but we just, obviously there's a lot of conversation with regards to that, and that's why I didn't say anything about that. So you all are having a conversation. When you guys get to that point where the conversation is fruitful, and if the board takes any additional action, staff will respond accordingly.
It'd be nice maybe if you could just give a little background for the people in the room that maybe not know what's going on.
So, 30 seconds. So basically, the development project for Rybovich Safe Harbor has gone through the process. The board did not approve that process moving into subsequent phases. Now, at this particular moment, I believe Rybovich Safe Harbor and the residents of the adjacent community are attempting to work together with regards to some concessions that both parties are willing to have. And then if that does effectively happen, then I think there's subsequent conversations. But right now, it's not an approved project, and it's not moving any further on the staff side.
And it's on the agenda for next one.
No, it's not. Nope.
I'm wondering about the property, the old Singer Island Yacht Club. What's happening with that? I'd like to know what's happening to the empty lot next to the condiment building. And also, I love all these wonderful new projects, but when we're in this building, these buildings are in terrible repair. When you try to walk along the street, the sidewalk is in terrible disrepair. So I appreciate that we're going forward, but I certainly would like to see us maintain what we have.
So I'll speak on the back end and then go forward. With regards to certain maintenance, obviously, some of that maintenance is the responsibility of, a lot of the roads, believe it or not, are not within the purview of the city of Riviera Beach. A lot of them are state or county roads, and those responsibilities. With respect to sidewalks and conditions of sidewalks, certainly we will work with whomever the responsible party is and a contractor to resolve those particular issues. The property concerning the old Yachtsman property and then the property adjacent to Marina Grand, I have heard conversations and discussions about that particular parcel, but not to the point or it's gotten to elevate to the city manager's office or make its way through the development review process. So there's been a lot of talk, there's been a lot of conversation at the staff level, but there's not something that I've been able to react to, the board has been able to react to, or planning and zoning. So right now, it is exactly what it is until they start initiating applications, and then we're provided additional information. Mr. Bailey, have you all received anything as it relates to the application process for the Yachtsman property? The old corner out the corner. So there's a lot of steps that have to be initiated to even get to that point, and so we haven't had it at the staff level. The property with regards to that's adjacent to Marina Grand, the court decision, I think, hopefully most people know that the residents did prevail on that particular issue. What the property owner plans to do with that particular parcel, I'm not aware of, has not approached me with regards to any future plans. So as information becomes available, certainly we'll make sure that that information is disseminated.
So I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up, but I saw that Related Properties bought this Ocean Mall property.
They did.
And I just wondered if you know what their plans are. I know they spent over $19 million, so my guess is they have something big in store. So I'd just love to know if you have any idea what they're thinking.
So I think they've closed or finally have or close to the end, because there's a little couple of things that they're asking for us. But here's the one situation. There's about, I think, 37 years left on the lease that they acquired. There is provisions in the charter that restrict the height and restrict the type of activities and the density on that particular site. They have not approached us with any development ideas or any concepts, but whatever it is, it has to be within the remaining term of that lease, because the charter provision allows for no extensions, and there is height restrictions to what they can construct if they want to construct it. Anything after that, once that period is terminated, the city has to go back out for another competitive solicitation for that, or decide to assume the responsibility of maintaining and operating whatever's there 38 years from now. I probably won't be here, just gonna say that. So we haven't heard anything from the Related group concerning new plans, new ideas, new concepts. I can tell you a lot of those tenants there have long-term leases, so it's not a situation where you're going to have the makeup or composition of the restaurants or what have you changes, unless they look to invoke something that's provided for in their lease agreements with it. But they, from what I know specifically, a lot of those entities have pretty long-term lease agreements.
So how far west does that property that they bought go? I mean, does Sands Hotel?
No,
Is that included?
no. That's private property. The parking is the parking area and the where the mall is in and of itself. Yeah, it's the legal description it's in the charter.
Am I correct, the city owns the land of the Ocean Mall?
We do.
So all that Related bought was the lease?
The lease, yeah, the lease.
You're talking about all these projects with, with the pedestrian access. And so I ride my bike and I ride around, and I made the mistake of following the bike path that Riviera Beach has, which is on the right-hand lane of Broadway. What provisions are being made to really make access for people? Bikes, walking, the sidewalk is terrible. There's no place, and if you follow the bike trail, you're gonna get killed on Broadway. I mean, I've done it, so I haven't been killed yet, but I've had a couple close calls. So how is that gonna get fixed? All these buildings with no real access to pedestrians or bicyclists.
So I'm going to let the engineer handle the traffic and the pedestrian accessibility issues from his perspective, and then what we will do as it relates to future development.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for allowing me the easy one when I got up here. No, it is a struggle. As we continue to develop on the north end of the island, obviously there'll be more individuals looking to appreciate the atmosphere. Unfortunately, there's not a lot more right-of-way for expansion So our opportunities are limited, but we will be looking, at all avenues as we go forward or what we can do. But right now, there is not a plan. This is something that we are going to have to take a long-term view of. But with all the cars, the development, there's just not a lot of dirt over there to do anything. I'll say anything that is still safe. Right?
It sounded like Bill was asking not about what the future, but there's a bike lane, he's in it, and he could get hit because there's no, it sounds
It's
like
on
it-
Broadway I'm talking about, yeah, I mean.
Oh,
all
you're talking
these
about-
Are any of the property owners being required to?
Existing bike lane, what's happening in
Yeah,
terms of enforcement, maybe that's,
Yeah,
maybe it's an.
Yes, that's police.
well, I mean, so.
I'm trying to say that.
Well, and Mr. Bailey, correct me if I'm wrong, with regards to the bike trail, the recommended trail on Broadway, weren't they redirecting that?
Yes.
Yeah, so here.
So, yeah, we'll get to the enforcement. So yes, the federal government is actually looking to create a trail system that goes all the way from Key West to, help me, Randy, what's the northeast point in the United States up there? Something, Maine. Yeah. No, not the state. I know geography a little. The point, the farthest point. Something like that. So they're looking to have a continuous trail from Arcadia, thank you, Randy, all the way to Key West. So there are many segments that are completed. Here in Palm Beach County, it's going through Tequesta, and it was going on Broadway. But as you can see with the development we were talking about, they are looking at PGA Boulevard, splitting it off and taking it around on the island, over the bridge, and jumping back on Broadway and heading south through West Palm. They're in the study phase. There's obviously a lot of analysis that has to be done, but this is a federal program. I think it's called the East Coast Federal Greenway. You Google that, I think it'll take you to this national program. But that will address investment in bicycle infrastructure. And now we'll turn it over to enforcement once it gets done.
None of these developers are being required to provide any access on their property for bicycles or pedestrians, it sounds like. It sounds like we're just building these condos like Lake Park did up to the street, where there's absolutely no access other than you ride in the middle of the traffic lane. I mean, there's nothing required by
Well-
any developer to say, hey, you have to make access?
So understand that Broadway is a DOT road. It's not local. So we would not have the ability to force any one individual developer. And again, imagine if a developer only has 500 feet of frontage on Broadway, there's 60 of them that we would all have to get in line to move the curb line back on 60 properties to create some space for a wider opportunity. That real estate doesn't exist, and some of those developments probably will not get redeveloped to take more land, and we're not even gonna use the E word or any of the other opportunities on how you take land from people who don't necessarily want to give it to you for a project of that nature.
Yeah, but it's not.
What's that?
It's not, doesn't
No,
sound
no,
like there's any requirement by the city to provide for public access, pedestrian or on these projects. I mean, the sidewalk is insufficient, the road is insufficient.
Okay, so that's a little different. The bicycle infrastructure is very, very difficult because bicycles have to ride in the road. They're considered a vehicle like a car. Pedestrian access will happen on the sidewalk. We are requiring that many of these developments widen the sidewalk, we have a rule when you have these intense developments for a civic open space. And that civic open space is usually put up next to the road. You'll see it at Berkeley Landing, right there on Broadway. You'll see this very decorative bus stop and a big patio pavered area with some amenities. That is a civic open space that is required on Broadway. So some of it will be integrated with the sidewalk. Some of it will be sort of a respite amenity area that will feel like when you're tired, you could stop, you could sit, you'll have other amenities. And that is required by our code and will be part of every development going forward. So for pedestrians, the walking space will feel much more comfortable as the sidewalk is wide and as these little pockets of respite are developed on Broadway as time goes on. So The bicycles are very difficult, but we are addressing the experience of pedestrians on Broadway. And now we'll go to enforcement in the corner.
Enforcement. Well, thanks to the city manager and the council, we just created a clean and safe team along Broadway corridor, where we're going to have 5 officers on that corridor area. And of course, we're going to have the traffic unit along Broadway corridor to clean up the slum and blight along Broadway. And we have started already the enforcement of traffic enforcement along Broadway. So every morning we go out there starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we go out there and move the homeless off the sidewalks out of the bus shelters. So once Sergeant Lee, he's taken over that Clean and Safe program, where he and the ambassadors will be in charge of that whole entire corridor, as well as the CRA district, which bleeds over into east of over the bridge. So we have already started enforcement of speeders, bicyclists, people sleeping on the sidewalk. So we have a comprehensive program and a team that's going to be addressing those issues as we move forward. As the city manager stated, as we start building out these beautiful, our beautiful downtown, we want to have someone to manage all that work. So why have all that beautiful work when we don't have a maintenance plan or safety plan in mind? So we creating a safety plan already with my team, as well as Sergeant Major Walker back there. He in charge of Road Patrol. So he has already created a strategic deployment team to go out there from patrol to address those issues throughout the entire city. If you've been watching the news, we have been attacking all our stores in the city that's been doing a lot of bad things for many, many decades. So we're trying to remove those individuals out of our area along Broadway corridor and Avenue E. We did 4 search warrants on those stores for selling crack pipes and things of that nature along Avenue E. So we're going to continue those efforts as we continue to develop our Broadway corridor.
So when I ride my bike down on Broadway, on the designated bike path, which is on the road, you're gonna be behind me and say that's okay and
Just let us know what time you ride, Bill. Just let us know. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
We got you.
Call in
my next bike ride.
call in advance.
Just
you. We got
text
you.
text us your schedule.
She's been waiting a long time.
The buildings like that Oculine, are they going to have some kind of a setback? Because the buildings that are going up that are real tall, that are right on the pavement, like the one in Lake Park, are massive, and they really detract from people wanting to even be walking there. I think there need to be some setbacks so it's a nice open community and people feel comfortable. One of the things, back to what you were saying about do the developers save some area? Chicago has regulations, and anybody who builds along that waterway has to provide open area. They cannot touch it for the walkability of their citizens and people who visit. And it might be something to look at, because if we want a beautiful city and we want people to enjoy it, we want them to come out.
Right.
And if you have a corridor that's just got all these tall buildings, it's going to end up like Wall Street. Thank you.
Good catch.
Thank you. So my question is, or my request is that perhaps you can fill us in with a little bit of detail on how we coordinate with the county and the Florida Department of Transportation in addressing all of these traffic-related issues that are out there and that we're faced with. And the other question I have is that what, if anything, is out there in line in keeping with golf carts, electric bikes, and all of those newfangled things that are coming out these days? Thank you.
Yeah, so to address the earlier question, there are setback requirements. What those setback requirements and what the distance is, Mr. Bailey may know, but it also depends on the scale of the project, what the setback is, and what have you. So there is some elements are in there, but you know, one of the things that if you do any research, the preservation of green space and trees and the like are certainly something that are very important to development. We don't want to asphalt and concrete our way to reimagine Riviera Beach because we live in an oasis, and it should feel like that. And so we are very aware of those particular things. And so even on the City Hall property, we are going to make sure that we have those areas where persons feel comfortable recreating or traversing, and it's not a situation where you're feeling like you have to walk in a lane of traffic to be safe. And so that's something that we can do. And Councilperson, what we can do is probably at your next quarterly meeting, Mr. Bailey, maybe we can get some folks from the county and FDOT to come talk about transportation planning, the process, because, you know, invariably that's a major issue and a lot of concern for a lot of residents. And I think it's important to hear from those folks that are involved in that process and for them to hear what some of the concerns are from you all, because at the end of the day, we as staff can push on them from a staff perspective. But at the end of the day, if they hear from our residents and knowing what the issues are, it helps the argument to address some of those particular issues. With respect to golf carts and all the other vehicles, we're conscientious of that. Realistically, you're not supposed to have a golf cart on the road unless the city passes an ordinance that allows for you to utilize a golf court on a city road, but that's authorization that we have to get through FDOT. I don't recommend it. It's very dangerous. But also with the scooters, the state has allowed for those things to basically be utilized and preempted local government's authority to really regulate a lot of those things. So.
And speaking of our next town hall meeting and transportation, I think it would be great if we could also have a presentation from the Palm Beach County TPA, the Transportation Planning Agency, which I serve on behalf of the city of Riviera Beach. And right now they're focused on this Vision Zero plan to help eliminate the amount of deaths by way of different accidents on the roadway, sidewalks, and things of that nature. And we have a great director over there, Valerie Nielsen, who I think could give some insight as to what their plans are, and Riviera Beach possibly adopting the Vision Zero plan like other municipalities like Wellington, Juneau, and others have.
Yeah, certainly, you know, we'll work with Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey, if you want.
To that point, I also represent the city of Riviera Beach for the last 12 years on the technical advisory committee for the MPO. We've been working on Vision Zero for the last 7 or 8 years. And actually, while we haven't taken a formal resolution forward yet, all the Vision Zero elements, they have a model policy, are being integrated into our comp plan update, because that's really the better place for the comp plan as your guiding document. That is where you would place Vision Zero goals, and then it would trickle down in your land development code on how you implement design practices, what we're talking about, that are driven from the policy position of Vision Zero, where you have basically everybody has a lane. Cars are here, bicycles are here, pedestrians are here. As long as everybody stays in their lane, to your point, everybody can enjoy that space and feel comfortable and safe. So that's the goal of Vision Zero, is to eliminate interactions between, you know, people think of cars and bicycles. Bicycles hit a number of people too. So we're trying to eliminate all of these interactions. We don't call them crashes anymore. They're interactions. Some of them are less favorable than others, but so yes, we are integrating Vision Zero into our comp plan.
I'm going to speed through certain elements of this presentation because I think there's a lot of question and answer, and I know a lot of staff wants to address some of the questions that you all, and so I want to be mindful of that. And so we talked about some investments that we're going to be talking to the voters about on some of our parks and recreational amenities. This is Dan Calloway Park. The projected cost for the renovations is $6.5 million. We'll have a bunch of community charrettes and discussions with regards to that, and certainly would like your feedback and your participation in those discussions. Inlet Grove Recreation Complex. Inlet Grove is referenced because it is on the property that is currently occupied by Inlet Grove, and this talks about really modernizing and making some investments into our recreational infrastructure. Right now, if you our recreational elements, if you go over to Wells and Callaway, certainly they were dated back to the mid-70s. And so this plan allows for modernization of those elements and allows for the connectivity of intergenerational facilities. I've been doing some reading, AARP, I'm not at that age yet, but it's very fascinating stuff that they're saying that if you're building recreational centers and amenities, you have to build things that are allowing for more interaction between generations, different walks of life. Seniors don't want to just play cards. They want to have yoga on the beach, and then they want to go for a smoothie, and then they want to go for a bike ride, and pickleball, yes. And so, you know, we're conscientious of those types of things, and that's what the next version of recreational services will be, is making sure that it is almost resort style. So there's going to be a question on the ballot with respect to that investment, a total of $55 million for recreational investments to include the Inlet Grove campus, Dan Calloway, and then some other funding of other infrastructure concerning recreational amenities, even monies that are provided for in the plan for improvements of the beach as well. The next one is the police station. So I'll let the chief talk about the current state and where his operation is, but the board did authorize us relocating the Riviera Beach Police Station to 1621 Blue Heron. That is where Barracuda Bay, the aquatic center, is right now. And I believe, Chief, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, 65 to 75% of the crime that happens is in close proximity to that particular location. But it talks about the modernization of the police station. And Chief, you can talk about the conditions that you guys were in and where you are now and what this plan calls for a new police
Absolutely,
station.
sir. For the past, 3 or 4 decades, we've been housed at 600 West Blue Heron Boulevard. And in that building, we outlasted that building. We have several officers who, been in that building for so long, they have breathing problems because of the mold. So because of the leadership and the quick decision making and recognizing the problems, they moved us out of that building, out of harm's way, and moved us over to a better building that's safe for our officers, as well as for our visitors who come to seek help from us. So we currently are 100% out of that building currently. We're looking to demolish that building at this current time, looking for a grant, and we're going to demolish that building hopefully within the next year or two, and then start rebuilding. Currently, we're housed at MLK and Congress at the Port Center. I have my complete staff at that building and a few other officers at certain substations throughout the city, strategically throughout the city of Riviera Beach. So that's where we're at now. And we're looking to move to Barracuda Bay. So it's going to be a 42,000 square foot building, and we want to be as equally or better than the fire department when that time comes. We're moving in the right direction as far as what we want to do as an agency, the police department. As when I came in 6 months ago, I wanted to reduce crime, eliminate the fear of crime, and have some of the best trained officers in the county, if not the state. And when you do that, we have to make tough decisions of what we have to do. So under the leadership of Mr. Evans and the council allowing me to take the lead on the agency, we have made some changes within the agency. We have sent some officers who never trained to the highest level courses. I have Major Walker back there, which will be going to the FBI Academy in June. It's a high level learning course where only the top level people in the country go to. So I currently have another guy in AOC, which is another top-level course, another top-level training course, one of the best top-level training course in the country, AOC, the one I went to. Walker gonna go to second best. And so these are some of the things that we want to do. So what I want to do, because I get upset when I go to chiefs meetings, and I get upset when my colleagues here, in the friendly way, take jabs at me, that we're in the paper as the #1 rated city as far as crime. It eats me up. It burns a hole in my soul because I hate it. So we have to change the image of Riviera Beach. And how we do that? We have to hire the best quality applicants. We have to train the best quality applicants. And you have to retain the best. And so far, when I feel like I don't have the best people in-house, I quietly tell them, come see me in my office, and it's not the best, this agency is not for you. And it's time to move on. So these are some of the things we're doing to make the Riviera Beach the best agency in Palm Beach County. And currently, we're working with the Sheriff's Department, DeMario and Bradshaw, we understand that the needs of Riviera Beach. Barracuda, Jim Berry Park, for instance, and Phil Foster Park. We went to the county and they gave us $100,000 to man those parks between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Because I understand what happens. We have a lot of homeless people in Riviera Beach, right? And someone opened the doors up in Palm Beach, in West Palm Beach, and said, go to Riviera Beach, guys. They have great waters and great food, great beaches. We used to have 145 residents. Now we're down to 115. And on the Barrier Island, you have 9. And we all have their names. So every morning I have a victim advocate, a homeless advocate named Jennifer Jones, come to this beach. We check the dunes, and we tell them to get up and go to Palm Beach Gardens. So, but
hopefully they're not watching. Hopefully
yeah. Go to West Palm Beach. But no, seriously, no. And we have 7 sober homes on the Barrier Island. So we know where they're at, and 2 of them are certified with FAR. We're making them get certified through FAR. So we know where everything's at. But in order to give you the best police department, we have to make tough decisions on who's going to be the best and brightest in our agency. And I think a lot of you guys in here have ran Fortune 500 country and CEOs, and you know it's tough making tough decisions when it comes to manpower. So the other things we're doing right now, where this gentleman right here, when I first got here, I'm like, I hate Broadway corridor. You know, I go down there and there's no lights. I can't see along Blue Heron Boulevard. And because of one of my officers reached out to FP&L, they was like, how many lights was out?
In excess of 50 lights going westbound on Broadway.
Yes.
Broadway to I-95 on the north side of it.
So what we did, we reached out to FP&L and said, come fix your lights. Don't belong to us. And we had a couple of people get hit and killed along Broadway corridor. Blue Heron Boulevard. So also we working with FP&L along Broadway because no lights there. And Avenue E is no lights. And people say, well, it's not law enforcement. What you care about lights? It does. It helps me identify the criminals along those areas. So that's what we do in the quality of life. So once we're watching the presentation from Randy and all these beautiful minds up here, I'm saying, what can we do to be part of this movement in Riviera Beach along Broadway corridor? So let me create a task force to be able to address the quality of life issue that drive my Part 1 crimes. Quality of life issue drive my sexual assaults, it drives my robberies, it drives my auto theft, it drives everything. So what we're doing, we're addressing it from the quality of life standpoint, where we taking care of the grass. If the grass not cut, the homeless can't sleep underneath the grass or the hedges. If the light's working, I can see the criminals when they do things. If I had the ladies of the night, the men of the night out there trying to do dumb things after 12 o'clock, I can identify them and send them in jail. So we are addressing, and we working with the Ambassador Center. I hate paper on the ground. We'll go out there ourselves and pick up paper on the grass because it lowers the property values in Riviera Beach. So what we have done, because of the CRA, they allowed me to hire 2 additional officers and a sergeant who's going to run that program, and two officers on the other side of the Barrier Island to have more accountability. There's one thing that ruins our organization: lack of accountability. So what we're doing now, we're bringing more accountability to an organization. That means you get better service. Some agency, when you don't have accountability, you get poor service. So we want to make sure you have more accountability, which is going to equate to more service, better level service, better safety. That's what we want to do for Riviera Beach, as well as the people who live on the east side of the bridge. So we start on October 8th with his team. We'll be out there talking to the business owners, talking to the meeting with all the residents. Oh, he's in a suit and tie. He should have had a nice tie, so a jacket on. But no, he's going to be working with you guys. He's going to be a direct contact for you guys to be able to contact on the Barrier Island about everything that goes good, bad, or indifferent along the CRA district, which is we're in right now. It's the CRA district. So he's going to be a contact person for you guys along with his 4 officers. What's his name? I have no idea. Sergeant Lee. Also, what we're doing, quality of life issues. We understand that the sober homes, we are attacking the bad operators in Singer Island that operates without no oversight. They have been operating with no oversight for years. But now we're starting to bring oversight to those sober homes in Riviera Beach by making them go through FAR. It's a certification that they have to go through. We had 9 overdoses over the past 3 months in Singer Island. I'm sorry, the east side of the bridge. 9. That's because we have bad operators. So we're addressing that as well. And if you don't have the FAR certifications and you don't have the proper certification, we trying to shut you down, or some people going to jail for PPE fraud. Can't tell you it's an open investigation, can't tell you all the details, but that's where we at. This is my deputy chief. I stole them from West Palm Beach, Sheriff Department, and he's a gun expert when it comes to knifing, brass tracks, and we tracking gun violence. Riviera Beach, like I said, it's sad to say, but we have a lot of gun violence here. We have a lot of people shooting. So now we're starting to attack those individuals who like to shoot guns in our city. We have we have some of the best technology in the country right here in Riviera Beach. Now we have to use it properly. We're bringing in great people, training great people under the leadership of Mr. Walker and Mr. Christopher back there to make sure every officer understands the technology that you purchased for them years ago. Now we're going to use it correctly to make sure whenever a shot go off, we go to that bullet. Whenever someone buy their cousin a gun or their boyfriend a gun, we're going to lock them up. And we're looking at 2 or 3 young ladies who bought their friends and boyfriends and moms bought their son's gun. We're going to lock them up too. Because they're buying weapons for their relatives, and we're going to lock them up and put their face on a billboard on 95. So what we're going to do, we're going to make Riviera Beach one of the best cities, and people be jealous of what's going on here. UCF called me the other day. They want to do a feature story and track what we're doing in Riviera Beach. Why did they pick us? Because they see something going on.
And the manager graduated from there, just saying.
So I want to talk about Major Walker back here. Been here for 27 years.
Chief, really quick, I just want to hit a couple of things, and then we'll turn it right back over to you. So we're going to be asking the voters to consider ballot initiatives for the police station. We will be doing tours of the police station for persons to come and take a look at the facility. This is the actual ballot question that is asking the voters in regards to a $35 million bond issuance for the purposes of the police department. So more information that will be coming out with regards to this. Councilperson Botel, if you can go to the next slide. Really quick, we're having a retreat for our employees October 19th and 20th. This is an opportunity for us to get a chiropractic adjustment, focus on what the future is for Riviera Beach. And so we're excited to be able to have inspirational speakers come in and talk about some of the great things that we want to accomplish next year. And the last slide. So if you want to get all the information about what's happening with respect to our capital projects, you can scan this QR code, and this QR code will take you to the Reimagine Riviera Beach monthly memorandum that you can read at your leisure. And if you would like a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, you can scan that QR code, and you should be able to download this PowerPoint presentation and go through it at your leisure. So we'll definitely leave this up for persons to be able to get that information. If there's any persons that HOAs, church groups, civic groups, drinking clubs, anytime you want us to come talk about the bond initiatives, let us know, and we will sit down and have conversations, whether it's in your living room, whether it's at your civic association, whether it's at, Two Drunken Goats. I prefer tequila. That's my drink of choice. But we are more than willing to have conversations with you so you can understand exactly all the information to make an informed decision. We will be launching a website that will have all the factual information, all the data, all the community meetings, and providing for opportunities for virtual tours if you can't go and tour some of these facilities and talk to some of the end users with respect to what we have going on. So with that being said, I want to turn the presentation back over to Councilperson Botel.
Thank you. I don't want to take us too much past 7:30, but I really appreciate you all being here this evening. It's been so much information, and I appreciate your coming out for it. I have to make a decision as to whether we'll do our next quarterly in December, which is dicey for a lot of people because of the holidays, or maybe even push it till January. So I'll be sending out a questionnaire about that. Unless we have any pressing questions. I know Mr. Evans has, Emma's been waiting. Emma, yes, go ahead.
I'm loud. I just want to say that I've been very vocal about the traffic on Ocean Drive Monday through Friday, early in the morning. They're using it as a shortcut. I've almost been killed walking my dog a number of occasions. I know that you went to Jonathan and they put a decoy car there. It worked for a day. Then everybody knew it was a decoy. And it seems to me that if we're hurting for cash, why don't we write tickets and get people to slow down? Because it's outrageous. I hear all the stuff we're doing on Broadway, but come over to Ocean Drive and fix this, please.
Yes,
Thank you.
I can address that for a second. I had my units out here a few times, and then we started getting complaints. We started writing too many tickets. So, and we were writing the wrong people tickets. So, the problem is we come over here, start writing tickets, then people start complaining that I didn't want you to write the residents' ticket. I want you to write the people who visit us tickets. So it's one of those. I like you.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Just so you're one word about that, Emma. We've been after them. We've been after FDOT to do something about this. We've been working with our police department. We appreciate their diligence over here, but we really need crosswalks that are lighted. They have finally agreed to put 2 in. Now they're not in spaces that maybe some of you on the way north end would like, but at least it's a beginning. They're going to be where the beach crossings are near the Tiara, and I think immediately north of that. Mary can send you a map if you like. But there will be 2 dedicated crosswalks with flashing lights and the whole thing to make people slow down and pay attention. So that's a beginning. And then we'll continue to work with FDOT. It's a state road, they control it. But in terms of the speeding, yes, we can do something about that. But in terms of the crosswalks, we'll work on that. If there's nothing else, thank you again so much for coming out this evening. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks.